Today we've got one of the best putting tips that I've ever heard coming from Mr. Big Smooth himself, Mr. Tai Relatos. Let's get into it. This putting tip is going to help you get a lot more speed and a lot more spin on your putts, let you start being a lot more comfortable at circle's edge, even a little bit into circle 2. This is how this putting tip has helped me. Let's start with where I started. And I've always been a pretty good circle 1 putter because of the Champ Cap, because of the Champ Cap Solo, because I practice a fair amount. However, when it came to circle 2, I didn't have a lot of power or a lot of spin, and I sort of had to jump. I don't really step putt that much. I'm more of a jump putter, and that's what I would do when I was in circle 2. And when I was at the edge of circle 1, if I missed, usually it was on line, but it would be short. It would be cage or worse. So let's talk about how this tip has helped me and how I believe this tip is going to help you. And so I would line up. This is my original putt. Line up nice and everything. Now I'm more of a spush putter, and I would sort of spush it. I would keep everything on line and get a little wrist pop at the end to get any amount of spin and speed on my putt to get it to the basket. Here is the tip that's going to help you start hitting those putts on the edge of circle and into circle 2. Instead of just bringing the disc back and giving a little wrist pop to get there, this is the tip from the big man, Mr. Big Smooth. We're getting the elbow out and ahead of the disc, and we are whipping that thing at the basket. That's where that speed and spin's coming from. If you watch the guys that are hitting those long putts, Simon, Eagle, Gannon, they are getting this. It happens really fast. It's really slow, but they are getting that elbow starting and then whipping the wrist up to catch up with the elbow. This is a fundamental that they have implemented. If you check out episode 2 of the podcast, we talk about the fundamentals. This is a new one that I'm working on. They have wrapped their myelin sheath where this is essentially automatic. That's what we talked about in episode 3 of the podcast. If you haven't listened to those, I would suggest going and checking those out. This has a lot to do with any new tip, any new thing you start to implement. Those 2 podcasts are going to help you understand the psychology of how these tips are working and what you have to do to implement them properly. So let's go give some examples and we can watch this tip in action. So here we are at the edge of circle 1, and let's first give an example of how I used to putt, which is the way I see a lot of people putt, where you're lined up nice, you got a good look at the basket, you're focused on accuracy and touch, and it works pretty well. Like I said, from 15 feet and in, this is really good. This is what I'm probably still going to be doing most of the time. But let's give a look at my original putt from the edge of circle 1, and notice that my elbow is going to be well behind my disc the entire time. They went in, of course, they weren't really supposed to go in, but that took perfect wrist pop, that took perfect, actually a lot more effort from my legs than I would really like to have to use from this distance. So let's check out the big man, Tai Relatos tip, where I'm gonna use, you're gonna notice, I'm gonna use much less leg effort. I'm gonna simply get my elbow ahead of the disc a bit. Let's do it from here. I'm gonna get the elbow ahead of the disc. The wrist is gonna catch up, create a bit of a whip, and it takes very little effort. If you want to practice this in the most efficient way to speed up that process of wrapping the myelin sheath properly while implementing this new tip, I would highly recommend getting a Champ Cap Solo from puttconfidently.com. It's just going to save you a lot of trouble, even if they don't all go in, even if some of them hit the fabric, don't make it all the way through the circle. You're not just winging putts, catching right side chains, having them hit low and think it's okay. You want to wrap this myelin sheath properly from the start, especially when you're implementing a new tip and a new fundamental such as this. So I'm going to give this a shot, putting in this new style. I'm just starting to do this. I don't have the myelin sheath wrapped like we talked about in episode 3 of the podcast. It's a fundamental I want to implement like we talked about in episode 2 of the podcast. So I'm going to give this a shot. I'm still working on it. I'm going to screw it up, but we're going to put in a couple clips of Tai putting to show how it's really done.
Go in the hole. Oh my. Out for 3. Okay, respect. Now we're talking.
Let's just see. How you like that, Tai? Literally probably my second day trying this. I'll take that from Circle's Edge. It was lower effort. I think that can work really well for if I have an obstruction in front of me, even where I'm at right now. Just having this little tip, this little mental visualization to think about. Get out there, give it a shot. Hit up Tai at Optimal Disc Golf on Instagram. He can explain this way better than I can. He's doing lessons on backhand. He's doing lessons on putting. He's working on forehand tips, so maybe he'll trade you tips for tips. I don't know. Big Smooth, he does some wild stuff. So that's going to wrap this up for this tip. We're going to keep, we got some company. We're going to keep talking about this tip. I'm going to keep you up to date with it as I go through with it, learn more about it. Again, check us out, puttconfidently.com. Hit the menu button, get in touch. If you have a question, maybe a suggestion, hit us up on Instagram at puttconfidently. And again, hit up Tai at Optimal Disc Golf. I think he's only on Instagram right now. Thank you, Tai. It was great seeing you, great having you up here in Massachusetts. It was great getting this tip from you, and we're working on it. We'll catch you later.